I recently traveled all the way to San Francisco not just to visit one of the most iconic cities in the world, but also for a very specific reason that had been on my mind for quite some time. I wanted to experience firsthand what it actually feels like to ride inside a fully autonomous driverless car. Of course, San Francisco offers many reasons to visit, from the Golden Gate Bridge to its historic cable cars and its unique neighborhoods. But this time my curiosity was focused on something different, something that feels like it belongs more to the future than to the present. Because today in this city you can open an app, call a car, and within minutes a vehicle arrives to pick you up, with no human driver inside. And that simple idea, which would have sounded like science fiction not too long ago, is now something that you can actually experience. So in this video I want to take you along this journey, starting from the city itself and why it has become such an important place for innovation, then moving through the history of autonomous vehicles and the people behind them, and finally exploring how these cars can actually work in a way that is simple and intuitive to understand. But before we start, don't forget to subscribe if you want to support the channel. It is really important for us and it will help a lot to continue making videos like this one. Thank you so much. San Francisco is often described as one of the most forward-looking cities in the world. And that is not just because of its modern skyline or its vibrant cultural scene, but because of its deep connection with technological innovation and experimentation. Just a short distance away lies Silicon Valley, the region that has shaped much of the digital world we live in today, giving birth to companies, platforms, and ideas that have completely transformed how we communicate, work, and interact with technology. In many ways, San Francisco acts as a bridge between imagination and reality. A place where new ideas are not only developed but also tested in real-world conditions. And interestingly, it is not an easy city to navigate, even for experienced human drivers. The streets are often steep and narrow, intersections can be irregular and sometimes confusing, traffic can be dense, and human behavior on the road is not always predictable. For this reason, the city has become an ideal testing ground for autonomous driving systems. Because if a self-driving car can operate safely and efficiently here, then it has a strong chance of working in many other environments as well. Although autonomous vehicles may seem like a very recent innovation, the idea itself has been around for much longer than most people realize. As early as the 20th century, engineers and inventors were already imagining vehicles that could move without direct human control. And some early experiments even explored the concept of remotely controlled cars. During the 1980s and 1990s, research institutions and universities began developing the first experimental autonomous vehicles, which were capable of performing relatively simple tasks, such as following lane markings or navigating controlled environments. A major turning point came in the early 2000s, with the introduction of competitions like the DARPA Grand Challenge, which encouraged teams from around the world to build vehicles capable of navigating complex terrains without human intervention. These competitions were extremely challenging, and in the beginning, many teams failed to complete even basic routes. But over time, rapid improvements in sensors, computing power, and algorithms led to significant breakthrough. Perhaps even more importantly, many of the engineers and researchers involved in those early projects went on to join major technology companies, bringing their expertise into the industry and accelerating the development of autonomous driving systems. When I finally decided to try one of these autonomous vehicles myself, the experience began in a surprisingly familiar way, by simply opening an app and requesting a ride, much like you would do with any ride-hailing service. However, the moment the car arrived, it became immediately clear that this was something entirely different. So we are in the car, and to start the ride, we just do start ride, car locks.
Hello, from Waymo. As we get going, we'll cover a few riding tips.
There we go. So the feeling, I mean, there is no driver, of course, but the feeling is like if there is, like the accelerations and the brakes are super smooth. If you don't know, you don't tell that there is no driver at all. So the car internally looks very similar to, I mean, a standard car.
And thank you for riding.
There is temperature controls, and of course there are plenty of sensors anywhere. Of course, at the stop, it stops. There's also street crossing, so of course it waits. It's red. The sensor detected the red. To understand how an autonomous car is able to drive itself, it is helpful to think about what a human driver does while operating a vehicle, and then imagine how each of those tasks can be translated into a technological system. When we drive, we constantly observe our surroundings, interpret what we see, anticipate how other road users might behave, and make decisions based on that information. Autonomous vehicles follow a very similar structure, but instead of relying on human perception and intuition, they use a combination of sensors, maps, and algorithms. The first step is perception, which involves collecting information about the environment using cameras, radar systems, and LiDAR sensors that create detailed three-dimensional representations of the surroundings.
See that the car basically knows everything. There is a detailed 3D surroundings. It knows about other cars, other pedestrians. There is a detailed HD map where basically it can travel through, which is pretty detailed down to the centimeters.
The next step is localization, which is the process of determining the exact position of the vehicle within its environment. While GPS provides a general location, it is not precise enough for safe driving. So autonomous cars rely on highly detailed maps, often referred to as HD maps, that include lane-level information and precise road features. By comparing sensor data with these maps, the car can determine its position with remarkable accuracy. Once the car knows its exact position on the road, it can execute extremely precise maneuvers, such as perfectly performing an S-shaped parking in tight traffic conditions, while still analyzing possible future scenarios and choosing the safest and most efficient course of action. This entire process happens continuously, many times per second, allowing the vehicle to adapt dynamically to changing conditions. Despite the impressive capabilities of autonomous systems, the real-world presents challenges that are not always easy to handle, even for humans. Situations such as unusual intersections, temporary road changes, construction zones, or ambiguous human behavior can introduce a level of uncertainty that is difficult to model. Humans often rely on subtle cues like eye contact, gestures, or shared understanding of social norms, which are not easily interpreted by machines. To handle these complex and unpredictable situations, autonomous driving systems rely heavily on artificial intelligence, particularly machine learning models that are trained on vast amounts of driving data collected from real-world environments, as well as highly detailed simulations. These AI systems learn patterns of behavior, recognize subtle cues, and continuously improve their ability to predict how different road users might act in a wide range of scenarios. If you're curious about how these AI systems actually work, we explore this topic in much more detail in another video on the channel about how artificial intelligence works and learns. So feel free to check that out after this one if you want to go deeper into that side of the story. Link in the description below as usual. An important aspect that is often overlooked is that autonomous vehicles are not entirely isolated systems. In some cases, there are remote human operators who can monitor the vehicles and provide assistance when needed.
In the case of an emergency, there is this support button that allows you to call the remote support 24/7.
Rather than directly controlling the car, these operators may offer guidance in complex situations, helping the system make decisions when it encounters something outside its usual experience. And now, here are a few surprising facts about autonomous cars that you might not expect. Some self-driving systems can process the equivalent of millions of data points every second to understand their surroundings. The detailed HD maps they use can be so accurate even down to just a few centimeters. Before driving on real roads, these cars are trained on billions of kilometers in simulation, far more than any human could ever experience. In cities like San Francisco, Phoenix, and Los Angeles, driverless taxis have already completed millions of real-world rides without the human behind the wheel. And interestingly, many autonomous cars are programmed to drive more cautiously than humans, which can make them feel slower but actually helps to reduce accidents and improve overall safety. From a broader perspective, the development of autonomous vehicles represents a significant shift in how we think about transportation. Companies are investing heavily in this technology because it has the potential to reduce costs, improve safety, and increase accessibility for people who are unable to drive. While the technology is still evolving and not without limitations, it is clear that we are witnessing the early stages of a transformation that could reshape urban transportation in the years to come.
And there we go, we're done. So I'll get out of the car, close the door, and it goes to the next drive, all without any driver.
So the question becomes not whether this technology will continue to develop, but how quickly it will become part of everyday life, and how comfortable we are with trusting machines to take on roles that have traditionally been human. Would you feel comfortable stepping into a car with no driver? Let me know what you think, and if you enjoyed this exploration into the future of mobility, consider subscribing to Project NOTOS for more journeys like this one. And as always, stay curious.